So hi, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the fourth Thursday Masterclass. It's the fourth Thursday of February, and that means advanced referral training. And this month we're talking about using one-to-ones to drive referrals to our business. My name is Bill Keane. I'm the Executive Director of BNI here in Central Alabama and Southwest Georgia. I will be your host for the next 45 to 50 minutes as we get stuck into BNI one-to-ones. So here's our agenda today. It's pretty straightforward. I want to go over some basics. It's often the case that we forget the basics when we move into advanced level. And so I want to review some basics and get us focused on the right path. Then I want to look at an anatomy of a successful one-to-one. What does that actually look like in practice? And finally, a little word on getting the most out of your one-to-ones and how you get into it, what you put out of it, a few little tips there as well. So let's jump straight in. Here's a question for you. What is the goal of your BNI membership? It's a great question. And perhaps there might be lots of different answers, but there's one answer that sits right at the heart of it, and it's revenue. We use BNI as a vehicle. We use givers gain to drive referrals to other people, which in turn meets our personal goal of driving revenue back to our business. So let me ask you this. What is the mechanism that you use to achieve that goal of driving revenue? In BNI, it's quite specific. We're using relationships, specifically driving the depth of relationships with people who can drive revenue to our business more effectively. So what is the best way to develop relationships? Well, there are several answers to this as well, but the answer in BNI is one-to-ones. The opportunity to sit down with another BNI member, to sit down with another person who perhaps is in our contact sphere, to sit down one-to-one with the other one single person in your chapter who is best positioned to send you business. That's the focus here. So I want to spend a little bit of time talking about the BNI confidence curve. Now, the confidence curve looks like this. And what we're talking about here is the growth of the confidence that other people have in you as a result of your ongoing BNI membership. Now, I can tell you all about this, but I'd rather you hear from Ivan because podcast 596 covers this specifically. I would absolutely encourage you to go and listen to the whole thing, but here's a little clip.
So from my experience, strong referral relationships are a lot like building close personal friendships. Now, Facebook has redefined what a friend is, but I'm talking about truly close friendships. In a study that I recently read, it was published in 2018 by the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships. It was found that it takes about 50 hours, 50 hours of interaction to move from being an acquaintance to becoming a casual friend. It takes a total of 90 hours to become what they called real friends. And get this, Priscilla, a total of 200 hours to become close friends.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. And according to the study, friendship status was examined as a function of hours together, shared activities, and regular conversation. Now, this fits the BNI experience so well because people who are in BNI for a year, that's when things oftentimes start clicking for them. And at 2 years, they're really, really strong and generating, on average, more referrals. And that's that 200-hour mark is in that second year. And so when I read this, it was like, oh my goodness, they could have written this about BNI. So, you know, when it comes to how long does it take to build a close relationship, it's somewhere between that 90 and 200 hours. And that sounds right to me. This matches up perfectly with what I've seen in BNI. When BNI members hit that 90-hour mark, they almost always begin receiving more and more referrals. And based on an independent study published in 2012 for BNI, when those same individuals cross the 200 mark, they generate an average of 5 times the number of referrals they did in the first years. Yes, you heard that right. More than 500% more referrals when they built a strong relationship with their referral partners. That's just a shocking number. So the best way to speed up the process is to actually spend time in the process of developing relationships with the people that you're networking with. Networking truly is, and you've heard me say this a lot, more about farming than it is about hunting. This is hard data that helps support that. It's about building.
Oh, well, that cut off rather unexpectedly. But those numbers, first time I heard this, I thought, my goodness me, 200 hours to get to critical confidence level? Oh, my goodness. But it does take time to build these relationships. And BNI is structured because we're meeting on a weekly basis. It's those shared activities that we do that it builds the relationship. I think a lot of folks come into BNI with unrealistic expectations about how they're going to drive the relationships, because getting to like is not the same as getting to trust. And I think folks sometimes get those two a little bit mixed up. So here, looking at the confidence curve graph on the screen, we've got a new member joining BNI at letter A. Hardly any time has passed, of course, and the confidence is low. This can be affected by if this new member knows a lot of people in the chapter, already has pre-existing relationships, and this can happen a lot in small towns, then this curve can be flattened. The drive to the critical confidence level can be accelerated. So our new member starts at A, maybe possibly a bit higher, and they're going to start developing those relationships. And over time, confidence in the new member is growing. We may currently be at position B. We may be, where we have developed confidence over time, but we're not there yet. We may have put 90 hours in, 50, 90, 200, wow. But this is what comes with the opportunity in BNI to develop relationships. I talk a lot about BNI members should be spending between 3 and 5 hours a week on their BNI membership. Now that means that you can hit 200 hours in, maybe, if I get my math right here, 20 weeks. That's right. No, 40 weeks. It's less than a year. The more activity we put in, of course, the quicker we can get this taken care of. So let's have a look at where this relates to us in BNI. When we join, we're in visibility. Over time, we expand and we grow the depth and breadth of our relationships, and we become credible. The longer you are in BNI, your credibility increases. And this makes perfect sense, because over time, people come and people go in BNI. You join a chapter, everybody else was there before you. You're the newbie. But over time, people come, people go. All the people that join your BNI chapter after you, they don't know how long you've been there. You could be a founder for all they know. And as time goes by, as the chapter grows and shifts and changes, your credibility automatically, to many ways, because of longevity, starts to grow. You can enhance that by the quality of one-to-ones, by the quality of the relationships that you're constructing. And you want to get to that critical confidence level, point C on this graph. This relates very much to know, like, trust, which we talk about a lot. But when you join a BNI chapter, you're all about knowing. You get to like people. Most BNI folks are fabulous. It's pretty easy to like them. And you can get to like pretty quickly. And you'll start to get referrals. I'll refer to you if I like you. Absolutely. But trust is a different animal. Trust is where you can really drill down, where you feel comfortable, for example, sharing the names and addresses of some of your key clients. I'm not going to do that to just anybody, and you shouldn't either. Just because you joined my BNI chapter does not make you a trusted advisor. It takes time. Remember, BNI is an opportunity to do business. So bearing in mind the confidence curve, the BNI confidence curve, as part of our one-to-ones, the one-to-one is the best vehicle we have to compress that confidence curve, to move ourselves up the curve. Because if you just go to meetings, if you're just visible at your BNI meetings and your one-to-ones are limited quality at best, it's going to take time to get to trust. And quite frankly, you may never do so. If you're not prepared to get stuck in and develop relationships with people, they're not going to develop relationships with you. So how can we flatten that confidence curve? Increasing the frequencies of one-to-ones is an obvious one. Now, our Power of One recommends one a week. You do one-to-one a week, you'll be in the green for that category. You'll be at 100% for that category. But, you know, depending on the size of your chapter, if you're on just a 26-member chapter, that will take you 6 months to get round everybody. And actually, if you start wanting to do more one-to-ones with your power teams, then non-power team folks are going to suffer. It's going to take longer to get around everybody. And you don't get a trusting relationship from 1 hour, 30 minutes each in a coffee shop. It takes time. You're going to do multiple one-to-ones to develop these relationships. So consider compressing the time frames. If you can do more than one a week, if maybe you'd have a strategy for your members and then have a different track for your smaller number of power team members, and do one a week with the rest of the chapter and do one a week with your power team members. That's 2 a week. But you're going to get around your power team members. You'll be meeting them quite frequently. Many people actually have power team meetings rather than one-to-ones where everybody gets together at the same time. Live vicariously, guys. Live through other people's lives and their experiences. Encourage other members and, quite frankly, visitors too, who have used your goods and services to give testimonials in your weekly meetings. It's quite legit to invite a visitor to your chapter purely for them to give a testimonial about you to everybody else. That's a great reason to bring a visitor. That's their job. Give you a testimonial in front of your networking group. That's going to help your relationship with everybody else. Because if a BNI member or somebody who knows you from outside the chapter stands up and says, this guy or girl is fabulous, you need to do business with them, that helps. It helps developing the trust. Absolutely. Remember, everybody loves a team player, particularly in BNI, where we are a team, we're a family. We're all holding each other accountable. We're doing activities to make each other successful. So do those activities. Give referrals. That's an obvious one. Attend all meetings. Focusing on doing activities to stay in the green. When somebody looks at another member and sees them as a team player of the chapter, their credibility rockets because we're all in this together. Look the part. Act the part. People look at how you dress, what you say, how you behave. They make assumptions about you. I don't care what an amazing person you are. If your Facebook page is a little bit rough around the edges, people are going to make judgments about you. And they can make positive judgments as well as negative ones. So you're there, you're looking good, you're behaving well, you are a model citizen, a model member, and you're giving, you're living giver's game. Again, it builds your credibility. So you can do a lot to flatten that confidence curve. And I absolutely recommend getting members and visitors to come and give you testimonials at your chapter. So there's just running over some basics of one-to-ones. So let's have a look. Let's break this one-to-one down. We've heard about the high five one-to-one. What about the effective one-to-one? What about the one-to-one that works? So we have to ask ourselves, what is our goal? What is our goal in doing one-to-ones? We've already talked about this at the beginning. Our goal in BNI is to drive revenue to our business through giving and receiving of referrals. So shouldn't that be our goal for one-to-ones as well? I truly believe that an effective one-to-one should yield at least one referral, particularly when both members are at trust, because that's what you're there for. You should focus on that. So breaking this down, there's different mechanisms we can use. And the first one I really want to talk about is getting organized. Don't be the guy that stands up in the chapter and says, hey, I'm back. I'm available for one-to-ones. So why don't you contact me and let's set up a one-to-one? No, don't be that person, partly because it gives the wrong message that I couldn't be bothered to reach out to you. I'm just going to sit back and let you reach out to me. But it shows there's no strategy. There's no plan. You need to have a plan in place in order to make this work. Get organized. Have a list of chapter members, put them in a list, work through them one a week, put them in the calendar. Get set up in advance. Book these up 3, 4, maybe even 5 weeks in advance. I don't know about you, but my calendar is pretty rocky. If you want to have a one-to-one with me, we're looking at least 2 weeks out, maybe 3. But get them in. Book them in, follow up a couple of days before the meeting. You're still good for our one-to-one dialogue next week. Absolutely. Check up with folks and get them in. Treat it like a business meeting, because that's what it is. And when you go to your clients and you're hoping to make a sale and get some business, when you're relating with your fellow BNI members, you're looking to develop your relationships, get to trust, get some referrals, which hopefully will end in business, right? So get organized. Please don't leave this to chance. I did this when I started BNI and it was a big mistake. If you've got a Google Calendar, or even if you're an old man, you'll write it in a book in front of you, get it in. Book these up. And be in a position to know that you're going to have a one-to-one with Bob in 2 months' time. Why not? So when you actually get to that one-to-one, what are you going to do? Well, you're going to be dressed to impress. You're going to represent the kind of business that you do. If you're an accountant, you need to dress appropriately. If you sell Kona Ice, you can dress appropriately. If you are a workman on a building site, well, I'm not going to expect to see you in a 3-piece suit. You're at work. I get that. Dress the part, act the part, do all the things. So there's some tools you can use. Number 1 is the biography sheet. Now, you should be familiar with this because this is what the secretary treasurer reads out at the beginning of the meeting. And it's an icebreaker. It's creating touch points for members, particularly ones that don't know you that well. Take it to the one-to-one. Sit down with it. Go through it with the person. Hand it over. You read their bio. They read your bio. Oh, my goodness me. I didn't know you were in comic books. That's a real story. I had a one-to-one with a guy in Birmingham, a new director, and we got talking about, we looked at biographies. I collect comic books. It's on my bio. Guess what's on his bio? I collect comic books. So, okay, one completely derailed one-to-one later. We have to reschedule. My relationship with that individual dramatically changed because of just one shared hobby. If we've got touch points, if we've got things in common with each other, we need to find them, and we need to find them fast so we can build that relationship quickly. So fill out a biography. For the same reason, use the gains exchange. This is another tool. It's a piece of paper in your, I think it's in the leadership team manual. I've got a feeling it's also in Member Success Program. You want this, I'll send it to you. But it's also, I believe, in the online profile in BNI Connect. Gains exchange, goals, accomplishments, interests, networks, skills. What are your goals in life? What have you accomplished? What do you want to accomplish? What interests you? What gets you up in the morning? Put all this stuff on. The more you can put in there, the more likely you are to find multiple commonalities with your fellow one-to-oneer. Commonalities builds relationships. So if you're turned out that you both grew up in an obscure small town in West Virginia, that's a complete hit right there, because now the relationship has changed. You're both Eagle Scouts. The relationship has changed. You're both in the same sorority. The relationship has changed. You need to identify these items quickly, get that relationship changing upwards, getting that confidence curve streaking to the sky as fast as you can. Now, I love the contact sphere planning worksheet. Many of you in the past have done contact sphere planning worksheets where we list out the top 10 categories of different types of industries that we can do business with. Well, this is basically the same. We want to list out businesses, other categories that we want in the chapter. This is going to be your future power team. So if you're an accountant, you're definitely going to be wanting looking at bank managers, business coaches, attorneys, all of the people in your power team. So you want to list these for yourself. Sure, that's what the other exercise is for. But here, we're listing it for the other person. Because you want a bank services seat filled in your chapter. You want a banker, but you don't know any bankers. But guess what? The person you're having a one-to-one with might know lots of bankers. But that conversation's never going to happen if you don't tell them. So fill out this list. Contact sphere top 3. What are your top 3 targeted categories to fill in your BNI chapter? Get this filled out, number 1. But number 2, share it. Let people see it. Oh yeah, I know who you want. Yeah, absolutely, I'll introduce you. All it took was asking. And finally, along a similar line, previous 10 customers worksheet. Now, the idea here is that you will fill out on this sheet your 10 previous customers. It should be easy. You've got books. Go and have a look. QuickBooks will tell you who your last 10 customers were. And you're not putting in Mr. Smith or Mrs. Jones. You're describing them. You're saying widow with 2 children, or you're saying widget manufacturer, or you're saying small to 10 to 20 employee marketing company. However you describe them, you want to get these down on here. And yes, you want to share it, because sometimes people are in your power team and you don't even know it. We did a face-to-face member success program a couple of years back, and I forget the 2 categories. One was like a medical, maybe an optometrist, and the other was, I can't remember, construction or something. I mean, it's ridiculous. They were nothing like each other's power teams. But it turned out that they both had an identical previous 10 customer. What does that mean? That means they're in the same power team of all those types of people like that previous customer. And I think it was, by memory, it was rental accommodation. It was rental management. They both served those people. Now they can work together to go after that demographic. You would be amazed who you share customers with, but you've got to let it be known. You've got to share it. So when you have your one-to-ones, set them up. Agree an hour, half an hour each, often works that way. But then say, now I'm bringing my biography, my gains report, I'm bringing my tools with me. Please have yours ready as well. And when you get there, the first thing you do is you swap them out and have a look at them. You could even send them the day before the meeting. Nice reminder for the meeting, and gives you a chance to have a look first, so you can get straight in that meeting of, oh my goodness, you grew up in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Wow, amazing. So did I. Who knew? That gets the thing off to a rip-roaring start. How often should I do these one-to-ones? We kind of touched on this. The Power of One says 1 a week. 1 a week consistently. They should be about an hour long, 30 minutes each. As I said, this is a business appointment, and use those planning sheets. Your time is valuable, and you need to do everything you can to speed up the development of strong relationships. If the person you're having a one-to-one with is not prepared to bring planning sheets with them and engage with you at the level you wish to, bump them down the list. Get involved with somebody who is prepared to work with you at your higher level. It'll pay off. I do want to recommend this podcast to you. This is podcast 570. More one-to-ones equals more referrals. You'll find this on bnipodcast.com. You can search for 570 or referrals, it'll come up. It's a fabulous podcast. This is not an audio, this is a picture, but it's designed to draw your attention to this particular podcast. I recommend listening to this very much so. So here's a note on frequency. Here's a graph that's been done. For the life of me, I don't remember where this came from. I think it was done in the UK, although they are a little bit suspect over there. Look at this. Along one axis, we've got frequency of referrals, frequency of one-to-ones a month, 1, 2, 3, or 4 a month. And then on the left-hand axis, how many referrals. And you can see that the more one-to-ones that are had, the more referrals per week are achieved. And you look at that last one, 4 a month, that is 1 a week. That is the power of 1. If you're doing the power of 1, it looks like you should be able to give 1.59 referrals a week and receive 1.57. That's the stats. And the more you do, the quicker you're going to get to credibility. And the quicker you get to credibility with somebody, the quicker you can get stuck in to how exactly you can help each other. So that is what a successful one-to-one looks like. You need to be focused and engaged. You need to know what your goal is, and you need to take the knowledge you have of that person you're meeting further, because you want them to answer a simple question: how can I help you? That's all you want to do. They need to tell you how you can help them. And they need to tell you exactly how you can help them. My customers always wear red jackets. I wish it were that easy. Oh, I wish it were that easy. But if everybody who wore a red jacket typically buys this product and I sell that product, I want to be introduced to people who wear red jackets. Now, that was a metaphor. But let people know how they can help you. What do they need to do to drive referrals to you? What do they need to say? How can they introduce themselves to somebody? You can help with all of this. They're not going to sell for you. They're going to tee it up for you. I want to emphasize at this point something that won't surprise you at all if you spend any time with me. Executing the plan takes time and it takes commitment. Too many people join BNI, put 12 months membership down, and 3 months into their membership, they're getting disillusioned. They haven't had any business. Nobody's given them a referral. The fact they have not had a one-to-one, or they've not engaged with anybody, it seems to pass them by. And our mentor coordinators, of course, are there to help with that, as is a lot of other folks. Don't be that person. You're the one responsible for setting your own one-to-one agenda. When you leave your one-to-ones, you need to have a better and deeper relationship with that other person than when you started. That would make sense. That's a great goal to have. Another great goal is to have given and received a referral. If you spend your whole time in that 1 hour, one-to-one, trying to work out how you can give them a referral and how they can give you a referral, in my humble opinion, that is time well spent. And you'll have more one-to-ones if you can get a referral out of them every time. Treat your time in your one-to-one as a joint project with a business partner, because that's what it is. You and this individual are embarking on a journey together. And there are lots and lots of different one-on-one relationships in chapters. There's a little graphic maybe I should put up here at some point, which shows you what a network looks like. If you've got 3 people in a group, there are 3 relationships. But if you've got 4 people in a group, there are 6 relationships. If you've got 5 people in a group, I forget, let's say 16. It logarithmically grows. And you as an individual in your chapter, you have 20, 25 individual relationships, and they all have the same with other people. They're all slightly different. You're all embarking on this joint project to build your businesses, and you can sit down with the construction engineer, with the florist, with the massage therapist, with the real estate agent, and you can all embark on this single project. It's going to be different every time because you're all seeing different people. But I challenge you that I believe if you try hard enough, you can find commonality to help absolutely anybody in your chapter if you try hard enough. And you get to know how to do that through the one-to-ones. Your goal here is to reach that relationship's potential. Honestly, I don't know if you're ever going to get to get to trust with any given individual. Statistically, there are people in your chapter you're never going to get to trust with. And quite frankly, you probably already know who they are. Everybody's different. Everybody's got their own approach to things. You get to know somebody and they're not your type of person. Maybe it's a personality clash or something. You don't get to trust with everybody, but that potential relationship deserves your attempt to do so. See how far that relationship can go. You only get to you only pass a few referrals with them, so be it. Reach that potential. Well, I'm ready for a cup of tea, I'll be honest with you. But sadly, we're not done yet. I wanted to share with you a video called A Cup of Tea. Listen towards the end, because cup of tea is an acronym, and you'll see what it means when you watch the video. Unfortunately, it's English people. They're hard to understand. They've got this ridiculous accent. But more than that, the guy who did it was an amateur job, and he did it in an echoey room. So you do need to listen carefully. There's 2 parts to this video. I promise you, it's well worth watching.
Like any good BNI member, I arrange regular one-to-ones with my fellow chapter members, even if I've known them for some time, because, well, I need to know all about them, and they need to know all about me. I've got someone coming along any moment now. That'll be them. Show them in, please, Miss Jones.
My name's not Miss Jones.
Hello, how are you? Good to see you come in. Found it all right then? Oh yes, no problem at all. Excellent, roadwork's not a problem. No. Cup of tea? Cup of tea. 2 teas, please, Miss Jones.
I don't even work for you.
So, tell me about yourself. Oh, no, after you. After me? No, after you. Well, the company was founded about 10 years ago, and we manufacture small widgets. Well, thank you very much. That was very cup of tea. Very. Let me tell you about me. See, our company was formed about 4 years ago. Well, that was your typical one-to-one. Cup of tea? Cup of tea. Completely useless, pointless, overused, forgetful, time-wasting exercise about nothing. Boy, you said it. I thought you did. Let's rewind. Good morning, how's things? Come in. Found it all right? No trouble at all. Listen, I brought my contacts. Good. And my schedule for the next few weeks. Brilliant. I've also got a few names written down. I wonder if you know any of them. Let's have a look. My next meeting is with Andy Contact at Company Limited. Would an introduction be useful to you? Oh yes, definitely. Right. How would you want me to approach it? What do you want me to say? I know they use a similar company to me already, but I can make the process smoother. Here's my contacts list. If there's anybody who's useful to you, we'll ring them now. Now, I've been trying to get hold of him for weeks. Hello, Norman. Yes, it's me. Is it a good time to speak? Listen, I'm in a meeting at the moment with a chap called Lawrence. He's mentioned that he helped Carlton & Co. with their problem, which is very similar to yours. Would it be alright if I asked him to give you a call? Perfect. Okay, no problem. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye. Easy referral. Sorted. Well, thank you very much, Norman. An hour well spent. Absolute. 5 referrals in the bag, and a date booked in the calendar for the next one. You know what they say. If you don't do one-to-ones effectively, you might as well talk to yourself. See you on Friday morning, bright and early. What a nice chap.
So yeah, that video taught me a lot. It taught me that you can sit down and get proactive and work with folks if you choose to. You saw the way that they shared contacts, that actually they said, "Oh, who can I get you in front with?" And they made a phone call on the spot, and they made that connection. There's a referral. What a great use of the one-to-one time. So that is actually all I've got for you. Does anybody have any questions? I'm going to stop the recording now, so you can